Hey, this bench grinder almost fits in the palm of my hand. Not only that, it comes with a flex shaft. Ever seen one of these? Stick around. We'll see you right after this. All right, everybody, I came across this 3-inch bench grinder. Now, 3 inches doesn't mean that this is 3 inches in length or size of the housing. It just means that the grinding wheels themselves are 3 inches in diameter. Now, a bench grinder of this size is not meant for heavy duty metal removal or heavy grinding, sharpening lawnmower blades, machetes or axes or anything like that. The lower powered motor and the small wheel diameter is going to limit how much material or heat the machine can handle before it starts to overheat. But it's definitely good for light polishing and buffing, sharpening small drill bits and other rotary tool accessories. Let me give you an idea of how small it is. Here is an 8-inch bench grinder. So there you can see the difference there. All right, so it doesn't come fully assembled. We're gonna have to attach our work rest. This is where you rest your material before you start grinding, and our safety shields to protect our face, namely our eyes, when we're grinding. So on the work rest, you have this slot here that's gonna line up with the hole on the wheel guard, which is this right here. So there's a hole right here, and you have this tensioner knob. So you just take your work rest and position that slot over that hole, and you take your tensioner knob, slip it into the slot, and screw it into the hole. Now the long slot, along with the tensioner knob being loosened, allows you to adjust how far you want the work rest away from your wheel. It also allows you to adjust the angle of your work rest as well. And that's important to know because you want the space between the wheel and the work rest, that gap right there, to be no more than 1/8 of an inch. Because the more you grind, the more the wheels get smaller in diameter. So the work rest has to be adjustable in order to maintain that distance. All right, so now we're going to attach our spark guards. That's these right here. And those are attached to our safety shields. So the first thing we have to do is loosen the nuts on the spark guard screws. And take the washers off. Then we're going to insert these 2 screws into these 2 holes right here on the wheel guard. Now it has these small rings here. You want to put these on the screw first, then insert it into the spark guard. So it's going to look like that. Then you're going to take your other washers, slip them on the back there, and then put your nuts on. Now you want to leave your screws a little loose so you can adjust the spark guard. You want the space between the spark guard and the wheel to be no more than 1/16 of an inch. Once you dial that in, you can tighten the nuts. All right, so we got our spark guards and our safety shields installed. All right, so this orange wheel is the grinding wheel and this gray wheel is the polishing wheel. They both have very different functions. The grinding wheel is meant to remove material. Polishing wheel is meant to refine the material without removing much. It's also called a buffing wheel. This is pretty hard. This is not as hard. Look at this. You can actually squeeze it. The grinding wheel is usually made of aluminum oxide. It can even include diamond in it for those very hard materials. And they have various grits from coarse to fine, depending on what you need. This is made to be plugged into a 120 volt socket. So let's go ahead and plug it in and see how it sounds and performs. It's pretty quiet. Now, even though they have the safety shields and all of that, you still want to wear your safety glasses or whatever safety materials, PPE, you need to wear when you're using power tools, especially a grinder. Notice that you don't want to apply too much pressure with the grinder because it will slow down the motor. See how it slowed it down and stopped it? That's all it takes for this small grinder to stop. Now you can turn up the power if you need to. That's the speed control knob right there to do that. Now this is rated for 11,000 RPMs. So if you got to replace your grinding wheels, make sure that the rating of the grinding wheel is at least 11,000 RPMs. All right, so there's one feature of this grinder that the other grinder does not have, and that's this right here, a flex shaft. It's about 31 inches long, and you attach it to the grinder by inserting it right here on the wheel cover. But before you do that, notice that the insertion point is shaped like a square, and so is this. So you have to make sure that you turn it so that both shapes line up so you can insert this inside the wheel cover. And you're going to push it in until it stops, and then you bring down this big nut called the shaft connector, and you just screw it on. Now this comes with the grinding stone that you have to insert into the other end of the shaft. Now you'll be inserting the shaft of the grinding stone into a collet. You can't see it, but it's inside this housing. But notice you have a hole right there. And if I twist the collet nut, you'll see that a hole appears. You're gonna take the shaft of your grinding stone. You're gonna twist the collet nut around until you see that hole appear. And then you're gonna stick this tool all the way in, like that. And then you can tighten your collet nut onto your grinding stone shaft. Without doing that, you will not be able to tighten anything. So now you have a grinding stone that you can use to grind whatever you need. Let's see if we can get that rust off. All right, it's not a bad gadget to have around. I can think of a million uses for this flex shaft. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to check out the links below.